to influence public policy in the direction of your enemies. They need to trust you. But what if you're a young socialist Marxist radical like, say, Barney Frank, or Jim McGovern, or John Turney, or Elizabeth Warren, or who else in this state? You know, Pat Jellin, or a whole bunch of people in this state who hang around with the local Marxists, who control the local unions and the local Democratic Party, and they have the ability to make you look nice and get you elected to Congress, or even the Senate. And there you can serve on the Science and Technology Committee, or the Homeland Security Committee, or the Armed Services Committee, even the Intelligence Committee. You have access to all sorts of government secrets and the ability to influence public policy, not just on a national level, but an international level. How much of an FBI security clearance does that one take, folks? Nothing. Zero. Because the people are supposed to vet the candidates, right? Right. And the media is supposed to help you do it, right? How's that one working out for you guys?
No, not at all.
Look, they did it with Mitt Romney and Sarah Palin. There was nothing you were not allowed to know about them, because that was a question of character. Those people might be leading your country someday, and the public had a right to know everything that ever formed their character or behaviour. You had a right to know about what Mitt Romney did with his dog on holiday. You had a right to know everything about Bain Capital, everything about him allegedly beating up some young gay kid when he was 17. You had the absolute right to know everything that was in Sarah Palin's kids' Facebook pages, because this was a question of character. And you know what? I agree. I support that. But why do you not have the right to know about the elephant's graveyard of skeletons in Obama's closet? Or Elizabeth Warren's? Or Jim McGovern's? Or Barbara Lee's? Or Barbara Box's? Or Tammy Baldwin's? Or Raul Grijalva's? Why don't you have a right to know about them, guys? Does having a D after your name automatically make you a safe and secure and honest person, does it?
No.
I would have thought quite the opposite, actually. People, if you were a foreign intelligence officer sitting up in the United Nations, a North Korean, an Iranian, a Russian, a Cuban, a Nicaraguan, a Chinese, and you had networks of agents across this country and the labour movements and the communist parties of this country, and some of them had the ability to elect their friends and secret members into your Congress or your Senate to get any information they wanted or steer public policy in directions favourable to them. Do you think those agents would be doing their job if they didn't take advantage of that massive hole in your national security? Do you think they're that stupid and lazy that they ignore this massive hole that you could drive a truck through? Folks, if they don't do their job, they might not go home to a fat pension. They might go home to the gulag. So you have this massive hole in your government where no security checks are required for the leaders of the free world, and you seriously think your enemies don't exploit that?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously? I quote in my book Raul Castro boasting about how members of the Congressional Black Caucus go down to Cuba on a regular basis to talk to him about how they're going to work in your Congress to change US foreign policy to ease trade and travel restrictions on Cuba. So basically, they can send more spies and more terrorists and more drugs to your country. What do you call it, folks, when someone goes from your country to an enemy foreign country to help them against you? Is that a naughty thing, people? Is that bad?
Yeah.
Well, why is it happening every day, folks? And why does nobody say boo about it?
I know why. Idiots.
Well, it's been going on for a long time too, people. Any Vietnam veterans in the room today? Thanks, I knew there'd be several. Germany, okay. Vietnam era. Well, thanks very much, gentlemen, for your service. Well, I want to ask you a question. Was the Vietnam War lost in the jungles of Vietnam?
No.
Emphatically no. I always get that answer. Is it true that your forces had all sorts of crazy rules of engagements? You couldn't chase the enemy to certain places, you couldn't bomb certain areas, you had to leave them refuges. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, did that hamper your effort in winning that war? Did that make it a lot more difficult for you?
Yep.
So, when you withdrew, is it also true that your government defunded the South Vietnamese military and basically ensured a communist victory?
That's true.
Okay? So you lost 58,000 men in that war, folks. Every community in this country was touched by that war. I bet you every one of you knows someone who lost a family member or a relative in that war. You still see the veterans of that war wandering around your streets at 3 o'clock in the morning right now, addled out of their brains, do you not? And all think of all the millions of Vietnamese who suffered death and imprisonment and torture after the communist victory. That war, my contention, was lost in your Congress, folks. And many of the congressmen who did that, and one of them was a Catholic priest from this state, Father Dryden, the priest who deliberately dumbed that war down, deliberately sabotaged the efforts of your troops in the field. Many of them, just like Dryden, were working hand in glove with the Communist Party USA, which took its orders directly from the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, which was allied to the Communist Party of North Vietnam. Do you think there might have been a little bit of treason going on there, folks? Just a little bit. And how many of those congressmen people who sabotaged your war effort and condemned many thousands of your countrymen to completely unnecessary deaths, completely unnecessary, how many of them ever paid a single penalty for what they did, folks? One of them is now Secretary of State. You might know him.
Yeah.
Oh, he went to Vietnam.
Oh, he was a great fighter. And then fought tooth and nail to sabotage your war effort when he came back. And John Conyers' people, one of them, is still in Congress. How long has he been there now? 140, 160 years, perhaps? John Conyers, for many years, headed the Judiciary Committee, still serves on it. The Judiciary Committee is one of your most important bodies, folks. That writes those wonderful federal laws that you all love. Those laws that take away your freedom far more often than not. It is also the body that oversees the Federal Bureau of Investigation and writes its budget, grants its budget. What is the role of the FBI when it comes to subversives and radicals and communists in your government, folks?
Pretty heavy.
Hold the stand down.
Well, they're supposed to root them out, is it not? Isn't that not their job?
That's their job.
Okay, so John Conyers has got a 50-year history with the Communist Party USA, going right up till 2013. He's got a 40-year history with Democratic Socialists of America, going up till last year. I have photographs in my book to prove it. He's got a 20-year at least history with the Workers' World Party, the most hardcore communist party in your country. They support Iran and North Korea. John Conyers is a hardcore anti-American Marxist, as hardcore as you can get. Yet he oversaw the budget of the FBI and headed the committee that granted it. What do you think would happen to the budget of the FBI if they ever came after John Conyers or his communist friends in your government, folks? Can you see the problem there? Your Charlie Rangel, Ways and Means Committee, the body that writes your tax laws. Doesn't obey them, but he writes them. You know those wonderful tax laws that send your businesses broke and make you all a lot poorer than you should be? You know those ones? Charlie Rangel has a 50-year history with the communist movement. Member of two Soviet fronts that I know about. Invited Fidel Castro to Harlem in 1995. Pictures in my book of them smiling together. Do you think he's going to promote the Unfair movie for you guys? You got Rosa DeLauro not far from here in Connecticut. I got pictures in my book of her hugging her best friend, Joel Fishman, the the head of the Connecticut Communist Party in the headquarters of the Connecticut Communist Party. Joelle Fishman is a daughter-in-law of a Soviet spy. She is the communist delegated by the party with liaising with the Democrats to elect left-wing Democrats. You got Danny Davis and Jan Schakowsky and Barbara and Jerry Nadler, all card-carrying members of Democratic Socialists of America, all serving in your Congress. You got Jose Serrano, you've got Raul Grijalva, Eddie Bernice Johnson, all have written articles for the Communist Party newspaper. You've got Patty Murray out of Washington State, Senator, long-time associate of the Washington Communist Party. You've got Nancy Pelosi, and Barbara Lee, and Barbara Boxer, and Karen Bass, and all long-time, Maxine Waters, all long-time affiliates of the California Communist Movement. You've got Tammy Baldwin, the freshman senator from Wisconsin, long-time member of the Colombian Support Network. That group supports the Marxist-Leninist guerrillas in Colombia. They support their revolution by selling cocaine into your country. They're called narco-terrorists. She's used her position in your Congress and Senate on several occasions to try and get US military aid cut off to the Colombian government so they can do to that country what they did to South Vietnam. And then when the guerrillas win, they can send even more drugs to your country. You got Judy Chu out of California, folks. One of the top Democrats, the Los Angeles area. Looks like butterwood melt in the mouth. You know, beautiful haircut, lovely clothes, softly spoken. On Obama's re-election committee. Head of the Asia Pacific Caucus in your Congress. Head of the Progressive Caucus. 80 members of your House, which was set up by Democratic Socialists of America to promote their Marxist policies. Goes to China all the time to build business ties between China and California. Tells the Chinese press, I am coming home. The Chinese press describes her as China's representative in your Congress. Greensboro, North Carolina, folks, 1979. The Communist Workers' Party, a hardcore, fanatical Maoist outfit, got in a street gun battle in broad daylight with the KKK. Automatic weapons were used and 5 people died, folks. The Greensboro Massacre. You look it up. A little bit extreme, don't you think? Judy Chu used to head one of the Communist Workers' Party's main front groups for years. She still works with 5 former leaders of the Communist Workers' Party right now. One of them helped her to set up the Asia Pacific Caucus in your Congress, folks. One of the most influential bodies in your Congress. You have got at least 100 members of your House and 20 members of your Senate who would not pass a basic security clearance to clean the toilets at any military base in your country.
Wow.
And neither would your president. You think that could be an issue, folks?
Yeah.
But I don't want to bring you down with any of that or depress you in any way.
A little bit late for that.
So I'm a little bit late.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You didn't come here for that, did you? Right, there's enough of that already. Look, if I thought there was no hope for America, I'd be back in my beautiful New Zealand right now, building bunkers and stocking up on baked beans. Right? Not mocking prepping. But I see it this way. In 2008, the left thought they had a slam dunk. They had the House, they had the Senate, and they had their man in the White House. And their agenda was all written out, folks. And those 60s radicals, those Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dawns, who'd been burrowing through the Democratic Party, the unions, the media, and the universities for 40 years, finally their hour had come. They were going to take you down, folks. They were going to have their revolution. But in 2009 and 2010, something miraculous happened. I don't use that word lightly. Some of you might know something about this. The Tea Party, guys. Where were you all those years, people? I didn't see you coming, neither did the left. You got up and you stood on your constitution and you blogged and you marched and you emailed and you rallied and you agitated and you phone banked and you put some spine into the GOP, and you guys took back the House in 2010, folks. People, Obama could walk on water in 2008. 2 years later, thanks to you people, he lost the House. And that brought the agenda of the left to a grinding, screeching halt. Stopped them stone cold dead. People, they had it in the bag. They were breaking out the vodka, folks. Who was going to stop them? John Boehner? But a bunch of amateurs and novices come out of nowhere and took their toys away. And some of you wonder why they hate you. Why they call you dirty names. Why do they say these things about us? Because you stopped them, people. 40 years of hard work and you stopped them. People, you may not realise this, but you saved your country. I can see that because I'm from outside.